Let's talk about crawfish bisque. Welcome back to Sprung On Food. I'm your host, Kae Sprung. This season, we're talking about favorite foods, the history behind it, and the role it plays in the world today. Joining me today is comedian and singer Miranda Rozas. Miranda, welcome.
Hi.
I am very excited that you are here. You are a hilarious person, and your favorite food is crawfish bisque. And I will say, as a vegetarian, I have not had the privilege of having this, but I was really, really delighted to learn more about it. I got to know more about why this is your favorite food.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me. So many things. It's such a when choosing favorite food, I was like, oh God, there's so many things. It was hard to pick. But my favorite question to ask people is like, if you had a last meal, what would be your last meal? And so I thought of that, and this is absolutely it. I'm from Louisiana, which is not the most vegetarian friendly place in the world, unless you're a pescatarian. And I'm from Louisiana, and something really special about crawfish bisque is that my mom makes it every Christmas Eve. And so we have it every Christmas Eve. I feel it's also important to say that this crawfish bisque is not like you think of a lobster bisque or any of those that are cream based. It's not cream based. This is roux based, which is so many Louisiana dishes. And it's so good. I think there's so many parts to it. My mom is an incredible cook. So is my dad. They both are. And what makes it so delicious is it's like you have like the hearty, warm, cozy feeling of the bisque because it's very gumbo style. So it's going to be roux, and you have the Holy Trinity, and it's a little, I would say like a little thicker than gumbo, and you have it with rice. And she started this, like, I can't remember, it wasn't our whole life, but it's been a while now that she started making crawfish bisque for Christmas Eve. And something that's added to the specialty of it is that we always, during crawfish season, my parents throw like a big crawfish boil, and then she'll save all the heads because you need the heads, and you have it's stuffed head, so it's a mixture of crawfish meat, kind of like imagine like a crab cake. I was like, what do we call it? Crab cake, but it's crawfish based, and so it's like got so many spices and crumbs, and you stuff that in the head, and then you bake that, and then you put it in the crawfish bisque, and so there's crawfish and everything, and then you get to get those out of the heads. So it's like, and then she uses stock. She makes like a crawfish stock from the boil. So everything is just like, it is it's months preparation. She's saving everything from the crawfish boil, getting it ready for the Christmas Eve crawfish bisque. And she makes a huge pot of it in a big cast iron pot. And it is the best meal.
And what sparked the Christmas Eve tradition of it all?
That is a really good question, because I don't know. I don't think it was something that she grew up with, because we're all born and raised in Louisiana, and my family is Cajun. She's more New Orleans, but like she also, a lot of her life was in Cajun country. So a lot of dishes that are like very traditional dishes for Christmases or holidays, those are just passed down. So you'll always do like a gumbo around Christmas, Thanksgiving. Honestly, you do gumbo for everything. I don't remember exactly when she started it. I was old enough to be like, wow, I love that we started doing this. But I was probably in middle school or high school. And it's been since then. And now it's like, we're like, we can't have Christmas Eve without crawfish bisque. And then I think we always had, it was a Christmas Eve, we would just spend together, and then we would, it sounds like a Cajun stereotype, but we really do it. I don't know if there are Christmas books that are, it's like the night before Christmas.
Sure.
And then there was like a whole series where it'd be like the teacher's night before Christmas. So it's exactly the night before Christmas, but it's like with a bunch of like teacher euphemisms and puns and stuff. And this is the Cajun night before Christmas.
Love it.
And so Santa's riding alligators and like and then it's all with like Cajun kind of phonetics in a way and writing. And so every Christmas Eve we have crawfish bisque, and then one of us reads the Cajun night before Christmas, and we try to do it in a Cajun accent, which my parents are from, like, I grew up in Baton Rouge, which is like, I don't have a Cajun accent, but my parents' family, they do. And my dad's always like, y'all's accents are horrible. Like, it's like a disgrace. But yeah, so that's the tradition for it.
Oh, I love that. And the fact that there is a book, the Cajun
Yes.
Night Before Christmas,
Yes.
like that's I'm gonna have to look that
You
up
have
just
to,
to get to see the
yeah.
maybe is the do
The
you the
writing is different.
cover have
Oh,
a is
yes.
it the Santa on
Yeah.
the alligator?
It's like a swamp shack that's,
Wow.
it's a shack on a swamp, and then the Santa is flying over it, and he's flying with alligators, and the sled is being flown by alligators, and it starts off and it's like, "'Twas the night before Christmas and all through the house." Like,
Love it.
it's like, written. It's great.
I start thinking about, and this is no, I say respectfully, it makes me think of like Bobby Boucher from like
Yes.
Waterboy, and I'm like envisioning, I want to hear like him read that story
Yes.
in that character, and then
You
just gather around and listen, just eating the crawfish
That's
bisque.
exactly, it really is. I have some uncles that have a Bobby Boucher, like
Really?
100%. I love getting my Chicago and New York friends around some of my uncles that have a very strong Cajun accent, because they are like, I do not know what. And I've
They're
been
like
raised with them, and
smile
I'm
and
like,
nod.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, this is amazing. And thank you for painting that picture and also introducing me to a new piece of literature that I was not familiar with.
Oh, I
So
can't wait for you to read it. It'll be a Christmas
listen,
tradition.
oh, I aspire to it and I cannot wait for it. And of course, to better understand and appreciate our food, we've got to know where it came from. Down in the Louisiana bayou, there's a dish that's equal parts feast, family reunion, and endurance test: crawfish bisque. Born from French culinary finesse and Cajun grit, it's a labor-intensive meal where every stuffed crawfish head tells a story of history, heritage, and a whole lot of shell scraping. Let's start with some etymology. There are two theories of where the name bisque came from. First, there's the Bay of Biscay theory. The name Bisque might nod to the actual Bay of Biscay, a shellfish-rich region off France and Spain's western coasts. Then there's the twice-cooked theory, which may be a little more compelling. The French phrase biscuit means twice cooked. This one steers a lot of food historians, and it fits into the method of a bisque. You saute or roast the shells, then simmer them into your broth. Miranda, do either of these theories click with you, one more than the
Honest,
other?
that totally makes sense. And then also the twice baked. I mean, because you have to stuff the crawfish heads, you put them in the oven, and then also, yeah, you're also cooking that within the bisque, and you're using the shell. And it's a very labor intensive thing. My mom makes it once a year because it takes a while, because you're making the roux and then you're getting the stock. And so that really, yeah, I would say maybe closer to the second one, but I'm very interested to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got those two, and I don't think anybody out there has firmly planted on either one. But as somebody with some roots, I'm gonna say I'll double down on yours. I feel good about
Okay.
that.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Whichever name origin resonates the most, the earliest bisques were born from fishermen just being sustainable. They were repurposing shellfish scraps, the unsold, the broken, minced and simmered into a rich soup that made every crustacean count. Fast forward a few decades, by the 17th century, bisque had graduated from rustic kitchens to the golden halls of French aristocracy. Cream, brandy, fragrant wines, and French herbs began to polish the dish into something luxurious. Ooh la la. Bisque didn't just stumble into an aristocrat's dining hall, it was invited in. As French cooking shifted over the centuries, from hearty farm fare to the polished elegance of the royal courts, taste began to favor refinement over excess. Out went the days of heavy, spice-drenched medieval stews, and in came dishes that highlighted the ingredients themselves. Bisque's journey from a humble fisherman's scrap broth to a silky, shellfish-infused luxury fits into that story. It's a tale of a French cuisine as a whole, really giving things the Cinderella effect. Miranda, being able to turn the bisque from a humble fisherman's soup to a dish for the elite, it kind of sounds like the work of a 17th century influencer.
Yes.
As a talented improviser, if you were to have to come up with a scenario or story of how you think bisque made that transition, what would that look like?
Oh. Okay, well, honestly, I was thinking about it because that is every Louisiana dish. I mean,
Mm,
this story of, I mean, you have rice and gravy, you have gumbo, you have jambalaya, all red beans and rice, every dish that people love. And now you can go into like a really nice New Orleans restaurant, or not always New Orleans, because there's also different regions, but you can go into a really nice restaurant and people are trying to perfect what was truly the farmhands or the poor country, and this was everybody just trying to save and use every scrap of meat and food. I mean, so much of gumbo, jambalaya, and all that, the seasoning comes from because it was bad meat. So all
mm.
that you're like extra seasoning, you're actually doing that because that's how you had to do it to save the meal. So that totally makes sense. And that feels like a classic. I mean, yeah, if you have an influencer and it's you know, there's the lowly farmhand that just made this delicious dish. I think honestly, to me, I'm like, that's colonialism. It goes straight to the aristocrats.
So, what makes a French bisque a bisque?
Mm.
Traditional bisque extracts maximum flavor by grinding the crustacean shells into a fine paste. Yes, the shells itself helps thicken and flavor the soup. We may have gone chic, but we haven't lost the sustainability factor. Next, we add mirepoix aromatics and technique. Think onions, carrots, celery, dancing with shells, deglazed, then simmered, strained, and enriched with cream for that silken mouthfeel. But just to make things a little whimsical and confusing, and also prove culinary innovation has been happening for centuries, in 1651, Francois Pierre de Levarin's book, Le Cuisinier Francois, features a squab bisque. Yes, pigeons stewed in a rich broth, showing that bisque once embraced more than just shellfish, a little air and sea bisque action, if you will. Fast forward to the 18th century, the Acadians, exiled from Nova Scotia during the Great Upheaval, busily reinvented their culinary lives in swamp-laden Louisiana. There, they found crawfish, not lobster, but a hard-working little cousin. They adopted lobster bisque techniques to the locally abundant crawfish and created something new that honored tradition while embracing necessity. Miranda, we're seeing the Acadians adapting their new surroundings. As a singer, have you ever arrived at a venue for a show where you were performing and had to adapt to something because things were different from what you anticipated?
Yes, 100%. And somehow it's a little seafood based as well. But
Ooh.
yeah, I think something that was, as a singer, that was new to adapt to was when I first started. I was doing a lot of comedy shows, so it would be a lot of just variety shows, which was so great. And everybody in the audience, and even if they're expecting comedy, but they're active listeners. And
Mm.
so you're at a show where people are like, I know I'm coming to a show and I'm going to listen. And then from there, then we were just doing purely music shows. So it's the same thing. It's like, I'm coming to the show to be attentive. And we've done some pickup shows that end up being our most paying shows. And it'll be really great experiences. It was in Baton Rouge. We've done one at Portland Lobster Company in Portland, Maine. And it's so amazing. But the entire thing is that we're performing at a restaurant, basically. And so you have people coming in and out. Yes, maybe some are there to actually listen to the music, but majority are there to like eat and have a good time and still chat with their friends. And that was such a different experience because I had never yet done a show in which I'm like, oh, these people could be here to watch. They also could be here to just eat their lobster and just like enjoy and still have their conversation. And I think as a comedian and a singer for all shows, I've always liked interacting with the crowd and a bit more banter and those kinds of things when it comes to singing. But those it was an interesting first experience of like, oh, some people are fully just not listening.
Right.
You're like,
Right, they're
okay.
there. Yeah, they're there for their dinner and they're like, "Oh, and there is a singer? Okay, that's cool." But they're more
Exactly.
about their dinner. Yeah, so I can only imagine what an interesting shift of the mentality that is, where
Yes.
you are almost expecting people to be like right there with you, like we're
Yeah.
on this journey together. And then there's a little bit of that departure where it just becomes, it's still beautiful music, but
Yes.
instead of having it overhead from a PA system, it's there. And some people, yeah, some people are just much more in tune to that and will
Yeah.
stop and clap afterwards. And some people are
Yes.
just like, can you pass the salt? So,
That's
like,
exactly yeah. That's
yeah,
exactly
I appreciate you sharing your stories because I think a lot of people can absolutely relate.
yeah. Thank you.
Well, now that we know that our French dish has made its way to Louisiana, it makes sense to start referring to the Cajun version. Or
Mm.
is it Creole? Or have you ever wondered if Creole and Cajun are the same? Are they different? Well, picture Louisiana like a gumbo pot, two rich cultures simmering side by side, Cajun and Creole. Cajun cuisine comes from the Acadians, French speaking settlers exiled from Canada in the 18th century. They brought rustic, resourceful cooking, hearty one pot meals, local game, and anything that could be pulled from bayous and fields. That's where crawfish became a star. Creole cooking, on the other hand, is New Orleans born, a cosmopolitan blend of French, Spanish, African, and Caribbean influences. It's city food, refined sauces, imported spices, and a flair for presentation.
Mhm.
Crawfish Bisque straddles the two worlds. The Cajun side gives it the resourcefulness, using every bit of the crawfish, shells and all, to build deep flavor. The Creole side adds the elegance. Now that we have that one question answered, let's clear up the crawfish, crayfish, crawdaddy, mudbug
Oof.
identity crisis.
Ooh.
Are you excited to get into that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's because these little freshwater crustaceans have more aliases than an international jewel thief. Do you know if there's any difference?
I feel like, and I'm like, I wonder if my fellow Louisianians would support me on this, but it is crawfish through and through. I think if you were saying crayfish, crawdads is more of like a more fun, silly, like whatever. But if you're saying crayfish, a lot of times you're an out of towner. What is it? I'm like mudblood. It's not mudblood.
A mudbug.
Mudbug. That's similar to crawdad. So it's like you will say, but that's more of a but I think like the rule is if you're local and you're Louisianan, it's crawfish. And I think it's usually crayfish to me. It always gives me this is a very southern. It always gives me like that's a northerner or like so
Uh-huh. Yes.
yeah. But I
Yeah.
could I don't know maybe somebody would that's how I felt like I was raised. But that feels like a very important. No. You don't say crayfish. You say crawfish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
you have definitely affirmed many points, and just off of a technical standpoint, they're all the same animal. So whether you
Yes.
call them by their scientific name, Procambarus clarkii, or something else depending on the species, they're all freshwater cousins of the lobster. The name swap depends, like you said, on where you're standing and who you're talking to. In Louisiana and much of the South, it's crawfish. Say it with a bit of a draw, and you're halfway to a boil. Up in the northern US, New England, crayfish tends to be more common, often in biology class or on a fishing trip. Crawdaddy is the quirky, rustic nickname you'll hear in parts of the South and Midwest, especially from people who grew up catching them in creeks. And mudbug, that's a playful Cajun term, nodding to the fact that these critters love to burrow in the soft mud along riverbanks. No matter the name, they're all the same. Now,
Love
these
that.
yes, the one big happy family. Now, these crawfish have been woven into Louisiana's tapestry for a very long time. Indigenous tribes like the Homa respected and admired them. Homa itself means red, and so these little red crawfish have served as even a war emblem. Imagine this. In the dim light of dawn along the bayou, warriors were inspired by the humble crawfish. They thought that the stance held the essence of its strength, a little tiny creature that, when cornered, doesn't retreat but says, "Come at me." And so that claw-raised posture became a living metaphor of Homa determination and identity. Miranda, would you have guessed that the little crawfish has this small but mighty reputation?
100%. Because it is I love that for the Homa, but it is but a crawfish is on everything in Louisiana.
Mm.
It is like it's crawfish, it's oyster, it's really mainly crawfish and oyster. I mean, you'll get shrimp and fish and everything, but um, I want a crawfish tattoo. Everyone I know has a crawfish tattoo. My sister has one. So many friends have it.
Wow.
It is a huge symbol for Louisiana, and any good Louisiana gift you want to get somebody if it has a crawfish on it, they'll want it. And
Oh,
oh yeah, it is like it's a big thing. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah. And I love also your earlier mention of just distinguishing differences between Cajun dishes and Creole dishes, which is so important because it is true. And it was really cool to get to hear like it's the flair of New Orleans. And a good way that I like to, I think when I moved to Chicago and then I moved to New York, people can blend Cajun and Creole together when
Sure.
they're very similar, but they're also very different.
Mm.
And just as you said, it's like Cajun to me, the food is very rustic. It's very brown. It's gonna be hearty. It's gonna be, and then Creole is colorful. So that's where
Mm.
you're gonna get like more tomatoes and bell peppers and that Cajun country. You don't put tomatoes ever, like So that's it was great. I loved hearing that.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate too the validation from a professional and local. So I mean, that's a good stamp of approval, and also providing the great pro tip too about the crawfish as a symbol for presence and things like that. So
Oh yeah. Oh
make
yeah.
note, everybody. So for the next Christmas, after
If you
you
want to get
have
me anything,
read, yeah, after you've read your
yes,
prod, your
Cajun night before Christmas.
yes, and you're
Yeah,
and you get the crawfish socks for the people, a rope, like whatever, get all
it's
the
gonna work.
things. Just make it a huge celebratory event for the crawfish. I love it.
Yes, yes.
Well, by 1880, commercial harvesting of crawfish had begun. A harvest at that time was recorded at 23,400 pounds, valued at over $2,000, which was 1880s money, and that would be over $67,000 today. By
Mhm.
1908, output soared to 88,000 pounds. When commercial farming emerged in the 1960s, with rice fields doubling as ponds, this was a massive shift that made Louisiana the 90% plus producer of U.S. crawfish. It's become a springtime tradition, Lenten staple, and backyard ritual, a combination of agriculture and religion. When crawfish season peaks in April, families gear up with propane and social gatherings. Bow Bridge, dubbed the crawfish capital of the world, celebrates
Mhm.
its identity annually, firmly planting the mud bug in festival and folklore. So, what happened when rustic Cajun ingenuity met French refinement? A ritual. The stuffed crawfish head, a practice as tactile as it is communal, and a very important part of crawfish bisque. Here's how it goes down. You have already given an exquisite breakdown of how your mom does it. And just to reiterate on that, crawfish heads are scrubbed and cleaned, then stuffed with a flavorful mix, often tail meat, breadcrumbs, rice, the Holy Trinity, which is onions, bell peppers, and celery, garlic, and robust spices like paprika and cayenne. The Trinity, named in playful allusion to Christianity, is the Cajun equivalent of French mirepoix, and at times garnished with garlic, dubbed the Pope's hat. Next, there's a dark roux, which provides a rich base joined by shell stock, shells, water, Holy Trinity, perhaps garlic, and secret seasonings. These little crustacean parcels might get baked, sautéed, or simply dropped into the simmering bisque. This lends flavor and serves as little treasures in your bowl. Crawfish bisque is sometimes noted as the pinnacle of Cajun cooking, and you'll need some time on your side because it can take a long time to make, as you've mentioned. But it's worth it because it's a family event, a hands-on bond formed in pots and shared stories. Everything simmers gently until the flavors marry. Served over steaming white rice, it's thick, savory, and with those little flavor grenades in your spoon. Miranda, in a world of instant gratification, we know that this dish is not it. What's the longest you think you've waited for something? Maybe it was in a line for something, you had a flight delayed, you did a pre-order.
Because I've been traveling so much this summer. So definitely flight delays. That
Mm.
is like the longest thing. And I'm trying to think.
How long was it?
Oh gosh, I've been hit with so many.
Oh,
It
they've just
honestly,
compiled.
yes,
Mm.
and I don't know if it's because I've just been flying so much. So then I'm like every flight, but so it's feeling
Ugh.
so much longer. But I think the hardest part for me for waiting, the most annoying is when you're on the landing strip, like when you're on the tarmac and
Yes.
they make you wait, or you have to wait to even leave. And I understand it's a whole traffic thing, but oh, it just, or the worst is when you land and you're like, I landed 40 minutes early and they're like, we're waiting for the gate to open. It's like, oh God. Like those are,
Mhm.
yeah, those are some rough ones.
Yeah, because it's all both the anticipation of getting to leave and go somewhere, or that you've already arrived and you can't wait to be there,
Yes.
and they're like,
Yeah.
"No, no, no, not yet.
No.
You
Yeah.
must wait." Yeah, okay, yeah, I think that one definitely resonates. I would agree. The ones that I feel like are always worse, and I don't know a ton about aviation, so I couldn't tell you if this is for every case or only some, but I kind of think they can't put the air conditioning on until they're up, right? Or
Oh,
is that
I don't know.
I think I
There have
don't
been
know. I could be
situations
okay. Yeah, because I've heard
where
a lot of times where sometimes it's like, or just even as a plane is boarding, I'm like, it's hot as hell in here. And then,
yes.
they're like, everybody put the windows down, like once you
Yeah, like,
land in a hot
keep the
place. Yeah.
yes.
And so I'm like, oh, even then, if you haven't been able to take off yet, and it's small, it's hot, there's a lot of people crammed in. That's not fun.
No. No, 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 no.
A crawfish bisque, worth the wait.
Worth the wait.
Yeah, the
Yes.
plane, not so much.
No.
Yeah.
Plain, you're feeling like a bunch of crawfish about to go in the boiling pot.
There you go. Okay. Well, crawfish bisque is not your everyday menu item. I mean, you heard how much prep goes into it, right? You're far more likely to find it simmering away in a grandmother's kitchen than under the heat lamps of a restaurant pass. Why? Because it's a labor of love that borders on obsession. Every stuffed crawfish head is a tiny work of art, painstakingly cleaned, filled, and sealed. And the sheer time commitment means this food is for special occasions, not a casual Wednesday night dinner. In Cajun country, it's as much a ritual as it is a recipe. Families plan bisque weekends the way that others plan weddings. The cooking pot isn't just a vessel, it's an archive. Oral histories bubble up alongside the roux, stories about ancestors, floods, good harvests, hard years, and maybe the latest tea on that weird neighbor down the street, woven into every spoonful. The bisque soul is stitched into the bayou soil itself, seasoned by generations who made it with whatever they had and passed down the skill like an heirloom. And sometimes it's not just for family, it's for pageantry. In 1932, Beau Bridge, Louisiana, remember our crawfish capital of the world, hosted the local premiere of Evangeline, A Tale of Acadie, a romantic drama based on Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's famous poem about the Acadian people. For this premiere, they transformed it into a glamorous Hollywood-style scene. Think small-town folks dressed in their best, arriving for an event that was a huge cultural moment for the community. Dignitaries, seated in their Sunday's best, were served steaming bowls of crawfish bisque right there on the water's edge. It was a statement. Cajun food was worthy of ceremony. Miranda, this sounds so charming and fun. Everybody got dressed up. They went to a premiere. There was crawfish bisque. When it
Yeah.
comes to events, are you more into organizing and planning the party, or would you prefer
Ooh.
to be the guest?
Ooh, I kind of like I like both.
Hmm.
Organizing, planning, I'm not necessarily if I like hosting.
Okay.
I enjoy hosting. I don't need everything to be perfect, but I
Mhm.
think that comes a lot from my Cajun roots and just like Louisiana. Louisiana is always throwing a party for something, just as Bro Bridge did.
Yeah.
And it is so I think that is, and my parents are very similar to that. So we have so many events, just as you said. So it's like we have boils, our tailgates are insane. We have so many, we have Mardi Gras, like so many things that bring people together that you want to host for. So I really like to do that. I think I like to do that in when I moved to Chicago and then when I moved to New York to kind of share a lot of Louisiana stuff that I grew up and I thought everyone did this all the time and realized that Louisiana is like another country. And also, I like to be a guest because in the same way that I just love enjoying people getting together, usually for food, to hang, to talk, to party, to listen to music. Yeah, I really enjoy those.
I love it. The best of both worlds. And kudos to you too for, volunteering to be able to host and
Oh,
organize something,
yeah.
because that is a skill. Not everybody has that and not everybody wants to. So to know that
Yeah.
you're on board with both, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah. And I really enjoy I'll do a lot of I like a rice and gravy night or I like a gumbo night or I like, it's a lot of times if I'm hosting, it will be Louisiana based. That it's like, okay, let's do this thing that I usually get to do with my family, but I can't because I'm not in Louisiana.
Oh, yeah. So it's like it's almost a taste of home away from home,
Yes,
and you get to share and introduce that with other people. I love that. I
exactly.
think that's so cute and beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, fast forward to today, and modern chefs occasionally try to give the dish a shortcut makeover, serving the stuffing as fritters, deconstructing the components, or skipping the tedious head stuffing preparation altogether. But in the bayous heartlands, Homa, Belle River, and beyond, purists will cringe. In their eyes, a bisque without stuffed crawfish heads is like Mardi Gras without beads. It's possible, sure, but it's missing its soul. Crawfish bisque isn't just food, it's history in a bowl. Born from French fishermen's scraps, polished in high society kitchens, and perfected in Cajun homes. It's proof that patience and love can turn the simplest things into the unforgettable. Miranda, what do you think about the backstory of Crawfish Bisque?
I thought that was so beautiful. I was like, I'm getting teary-eyed. This is
Aww.
a perfect description of it. And absolutely that it all adds up and it all makes sense. And now I want to ask my mom, I'm like, was that something that was passed down to her? Or is that something that she started? Because both her parents were such great cooks as well. So
Yeah.
I don't fully know, but that is just such the backstory I feel of Crawfish Bisque could be very similar to a lot of the backstories of Louisiana dishes. And it is just the backbone of Louisiana.
Yeah.
That is like what Louisiana is. And so it was beautiful getting to hear it in that way and told so well.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, while you won't find Crawfish Bisque in every corner of pop culture, maybe yet, it still made some mainstream and celebratory moments.
Oh.
In 2016, there was Tulane's Crawdad Festival. This event was a fun campus culinary celebration where students enjoyed a crawfish extravaganza. Boils, pizzas, pasta, and notably crawfish bisque made with a dark roux and the holy trinity of Cajun ingredients. The social media reaction was proud and playful, in quotes, crawfish on crawfish on crawfish. And when it comes to recipes, you can find many through blogs and social media. And everyone's favorite culinary queen, Julia Child, has a recipe for her crawfish bisque. You can also find Food Network's own Mr. Bam, Emeril Lagasse, who featured his crawfish bisque, and Cardia Brown, who shared her sustainable crawfish bisque using shells for broth on delicious Miss Brown. And although it's not specifically crawfish, you can celebrate National Seafood Bisque Day on October 19th.
Ooh.
Miranda, are there any pop culture moments that you can think of that feature crawfish bisque, or any final words that you have about your favorite food?
I can't think of any pop culture moments. I mean, we do. It's just as I told you that when you asked if crawfish was a symbol, it really is a symbol it's an obsession. And for Louisiana, so there's so many crawfish festivals. And I love hearing the crawfish on crawfish on crawfish. That is also the crawfish pizza. That's the thing. In Louisiana, we want it in everything. So you'll have crawfish egg rolls. You'll have crawfish, it's everywhere. And yeah, final notes. I mean, I think it's so good, and I want everyone to try it because it's so good, and my mom's is just so good. And I will actually, this is the most Louisiana thing, but I want everyone to try it. But I'm also like, that it's not going to be as good as unless you try my mom's. So I hear
So
you.
everybody party at Miranda's mom's house.
Party at my
We're all
mom's.
invited.
It's usually open door policy, so
Okay. Well, that's amazing. I'm booking my ticket now.
Come
This is
on.
great. And hopefully there will not be any plane delays.
Yes, no.
Miranda, thank you so much for sharing your love of crawfish bisque and helping me to tell its story.
Of course, I had so much fun. Thank you for having me. This has been honestly beautifully heartwarming and another excuse for me to talk about Louisiana.
Yes, amen. Thanks for watching. You can find links and more info in the description below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. See you next time.